Vance, Jace, Michael, Jazz, Cooper. How are you, mate? We got Bretto, Tommy,
Well,
Shauno. Sean, this is a calm before the storm, mate.
ready and waiting.
Fucking hell. I'll just let Andy in. Spence, are you excited for tonight's game, mate?
I'm just, I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. I woke up, I was like, fuck, it's already here. Finals, ready to go.
Game day.
Hey?
It's game day.
Mate, it's game day. It's, I reckon we'll be all right tonight. I don't know if Port's got us. I reckon we'll be all right.
You better beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, I was talking to a guy at work who works in Adelaide, and he's an Adelaide fan like Crows. And he said, mate, if you guys don't win, we'll be so disappointed. We're all so against Port Adelaide. They're all going for Geelong, and they hate Geelong. So it just shows the rivalry in the city, which is kind of cool.
The challenge is with those top four teams. Halfway through the season, I thought you would have been able to pick it, but then they've all dropped like pretty easy games along the way. So it depends who shows up. Anyway, gents, let's rip in. Spence and I can pat each other's backs after. So, gents, obviously this is the last week of the month where we've been. Hold on, is my internet cutting out?
It's okay
No,
so
you
far.
seem all right.
That's fine.
Cool. Just because I just realized there is internet problems here. So if it does cut out, just let me know and I'll jump on hotspot. The last week of the month, the last obviously week, we've been talking about masculinity in relationship for those who read the GS Youngblood book. I personally took a lot out of it. There was some stuff that I, challenged my way of thinking, but there was also a heap of stuff that I've been looking to implement and discuss. But as always, we'll discuss how you're going with your 12-week game plans. I'm up to starting week 9 on Monday, which will be good. So I've got 3 weeks left. But it'd be cool to hear where everyone's at. How's it been going for you? Whether you're still on track or you've fallen off track, either or is like, it's just looking for ownership, because for those who don't have the routine, for those who don't have the consistency, the end goal for anything that you set is not, it's really not in my opinion, it's not really achievable until you build the consistency. So one thing we're looking for before you can even move on to achieving your goals is that consistency. So if you haven't done your game plan for 4 weeks or whatever, don't beat yourself up about not achieving the goal. The goal is going, okay, well, what do I need to improve for the next 4 weeks so that I keep doing this and remain focused? Right? Because a lot of us don't have the habits. We don't have the consistencies where it's our time's intentional. So maybe if we go back to what I talk about a lot is, what's the next step for me? Maybe the next step for you is just getting through one game plan, regardless of what the outcome is, but just actually making time and setting intention. And then once you get comfortable that it becomes a part of you, like much like brushing your teeth, where the first thing you do up is get up, do your morning routine, set your intentions for the day, and review your goals. That's when you're going to be more powerful at achieving your goals. Does that make sense? Sick. Obviously the second one, for those who have been reading the book, discuss it. Next month's book is High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. So if you haven't purchased it, whether you purchase it on Audible, Kindle, or just buy the hardcover, I've got a Kindle, but I've gone back to hardcover just because I love the smell of books. Get that book. We'll be cracking it off on Monday, and that will be out. We'll be having discussion points, homework, and I'll have a guest speaker on in not next week, so 3 weeks, to talk about who is a really high performer, runs a really big company, which I think will be good for those wanting to learn about structure at a high level, management and leadership. So we'll be able to start thinking about questions you want to ask from that point of view. And also Spence did put a message in our chat. I don't know whether he's being serious or not, but I think it's something cool to discuss around how to make 150K without working 60 hours. I'll share my own experience of doing that, because I've run 2 businesses in the past that have sort of got me there. So I'll share how I sort of got to that point, what I looked at, what I learned, etc. But also I'm sure there's other people on here who have done similar. So it'd be cool to have a discussion, because maybe there's other people who are in that situation who are fucking wanting to do something like that, and it'd be a great discussion to have. And I think even high performance habits will be a good way to build into that as well. But if anyone else has any topic points or questions you want to discuss on this call today, this is the monthly recap where we can do that. Have a think about it, or just post it in the group chat, and we'll bring it up. And if I feel I can add value there, I will. If I don't, once again, I'll try and get someone on the podcast or someone else on this call, maybe a guru at it as well. So if you've got some burning question, pump it in there. Other than that, we're going to go into our breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and we'll do a quick recap, discuss Spencer's question. If anyone else has any other questions. Does anyone have anything they wanted to share as well quickly before we go into the breakout rooms? No? Awesome.
Sorry, like I was just say one thing too. Just one thing. I put up a post about asking people, asking you guys for, and I just want to say I bought one, and want to thank everybody that made the comments, because mate, it is unreal. It's epic. I absolutely love it.
Mate, I'm jealous.
Yeah, no, thanks heaps for everybody put input into that, because they're worth it. They're worth the dollars, that's for sure.
How much did you get back?
6.5 I paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's so good. Like it was $7,000, 7,900, but because I picked it up myself and assembled it myself, I got it for $6,500. So yeah, well worth the money. Can't wait to get in it. Yeah, meditating everything. So it's
Well played.
yeah, cheers.
All right, gents, here are the questions to discuss. So obviously it's going to be the recap. I look forward to having a sauna with you, Ian, when we can travel. Questions, obviously, check in with your game plan, what's going well, what's not, and be open and honest, gents, because these recaps are the perfect time if you've gone off wagon or if you're struggling with something to get yourself back on track. Like, you can't get feedback and you can't get corrected if you're not being honest and having those conversations. Second thing, what did you learn from book this week? Obviously the GS Youngblood, ideally. And what's the best last $100 you've spent? That's a discussion point. I'll see you gentlemen in 20 minutes. How many have we got? 17. Let's go. How'd everyone go, gents?
Good. Yeah, real good.
Yeah, we didn't get quite through it all, lucky, but we had a big conversation, so it was grouse.
Perfect. Does anyone have anything they want to share to the wider group or anything like that? Or did anyone have any questions they wanted to discuss on here as well? Like, otherwise we'll dive straight into Spencer's. Is Spencer even still on? Where is he? Oh yeah, he's just not in his screen.
I'll just say one thing just regarding these lockdowns. For our Victorians and our New South Wales fellas, just make sure that everybody reaches out and keeps communicating with like our group and things like that, because you know, you sit there and you get bored and you can't get to gym and things like that. it's very easy to go off a track and feel really flat. So I just want to make sure that our Victorians and New South Wales blokes, reach out if they need to, because it's frustrating and depressing. So for all of us down here.
Yeah, or even gents, think about as well. Like, I'm happy to put on if you want to do like trivia nights or fucking coffee,
yeah.
like virtual coffees and stuff. Like, there's heaps of stuff we can do if you think that would be beneficial. Like, online trivia nights, a beer or two is a good laugh, and you get to really find out a bit more about people, especially with some of the questions I got in store.
Can you do that? I love trivia nights. That's awesome fun.
Yeah, if people, I'll put in the circle group, Jen. So check. I'll just write this down.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome idea.
Yeah, no, it does sound good, Lockie.
Be good fun.
I'll put in a few options, like 4 different games, and then just comment whichever game tickles your fancy, and we'll tee up an arvo where we can all jump on and have a beer and get to know each other in a weird way.
That'd be awesome.
Trivia is always good for that.
Online poker night.
Oh, mate, I can't play poker to save myself, so I'm not setting myself up for failure.
Texas Hold'em, yeah.
I'm out there too. I can't play that.
Yeah, some of you boys will go all right. But gents, let's dive into this one then for Spence. But I'm sure it'll help all of us. One of the things he just threw in the chat is, how do I make 150K a year without having to work 60 hours a week? And I probably asked myself the same question 8 years ago, but mine was more like, how do I make $1 million a year? Because that's what I thought was the golden ticket. With doing that, and some of us may be doing that, others may not be, and it might not even be on your radar. So I'm going to talk broadly, not use Spencer's numbers of 150, but you can still go through the same process. And I share this from my experience of how I've gone from, I used to earn fuck all to then creating a good company. But obviously all of us are going to have different things that we need to go off and start thinking about and researching, okay, if it's obviously something that you want to do. So I'll give you some questions to think about, and whether I give you 30 seconds to a minute to think about that now, and you can actually start working out. But then obviously from that, you'll probably have more questions to work out what those next steps look like for you. But it's a pretty simple process, right? But or simple in theory, easy in challenge. But my first thing is for anyone is like, what's the number and why? So for Spence, for example, why 150? Because there is that much research showing that, above $275,000, this is US. So let's say about 100 grand Australian, roughly. Anything above that doesn't show any proof in improved quality of life. It just means you can fly on a nicer end of the plane, you can have a nicer house, you can have a nicer car, but all the basic stuff is still the same. So for anyone looking above that, and I wish someone asked me that when I was trying to get a mill, is why? Like what's going over it? Let's say 100, because we're all from Aussie here, over 100. Why is that important to you? Because you can look at your expenses, and if your expenses are over 100 grand, then if you want to live an expensive, lavish lifestyle, that's awesome. But if you don't, you can also look at cutting back so you don't actually have to trade more time for money. So first one is, what's that number for you guys? All right, so take 30 seconds to write that down. I just got a message from Joey, treated himself to a sleep in. Good on the handsome devil. Right, so whether it's 150, it might be 70, it might be whatever. All right, so once you've got that number per year, and I'll also post this in the group. So for those who are driving, like Andy's the only one driving, I'll post it there and you can go through it later. But we've gone through this before, Andy, anyway. Then think about how many hours would you like to work a week? So if you're not wanting to work 60 hours a week, think about what it looks like. So for me, on an ideal day, I do, I like working from sort of 5 a.m. till midday. That is what I enjoy doing. I'd say, how many hours a day do you want to do? Is it 7? Is it 8? Is it 2? And be realistic, obviously. Right. So then obviously we work out, this is what we need to work out then is what your current hourly, what your hourly rate needs to be. So for example, if you're doing 150K and you're wanting to work 38 hours a year, a week, but you wanted to also have that 4-week holiday buffer zone, you divide 150 by 48. Right, 48 weeks, because that's how many weeks you want to work. I'm sure not everyone wants to work 52 weeks a year. And that'll give you your weekly number, right? I'm pretty sure it's like 3,900 Spence from memory. But then you would go through whatever the number is there, your weekly income, divide that by how many hours you wanted to work. So if it was 4 hours a week, if it was just going to mute Jesse there for a second. If it was 38 hours, it'll give you your number, right? And I'm pretty sure Spence, the number that I had worked out was like $83 an hour or something like that for 38 hours, right? So we're all at different, once again, all at different things. For some people, that might seem fucking outrageous. For others, that's, you know, you wouldn't get out of bed for that. We're all at different points, right? But what we do next is this. You work out what your current hourly rate is, if you can. Like if you're on salary, generally you're probably getting dragged through the mud a little bit from what I've seen with people on salary. But, you know, say, for example, you're earning $30 an hour currently, and the goal is $83 an hour. If and I'm just making numbers up for Spence, but if you wanted to work 38 hours a week for 48 weeks of the year and make 150K, this is gross. That's what you need to be hitting. So the goal then becomes, there's a gap of about $50 an hour that you need to make up. Does that make sense? So the question you need to ask yourself is, how can I fill that gap? How can I become more valuable or increase my rate? Now, some people think about it, I need to go start my own business. That's one option, right? It's also pretty fucking hard. The second option could be I could start a little side hustle. You know, for my mum at the moment, we're starting her pots business where she sells them at the markets, and we've already done all this for her. So while she's still working her job, she's just trying to bridge that gap so that she gets that hourly rate technically. Does that make sense? Because you still sprawl it off a week. Doesn't mean your primary job has to give you the $83 an hour. You could get it from another way. And then you work out, okay, what has to happen? So who do I know that's earning $83 an hour? Or what professions am I aware of that can earn $83 an hour? Or what can I, create or do or find that's going to give me that extra $50 an hour? So you're either looking at the whole sum, right? Or you're looking at the top up, and both are fine, right? Based on what works for you. Does that make sense? So for myself, gents, like I obviously have, the podcast, I have the subscription model, I have my one-on-one clients, then I have speaking gigs. So I have all these things that fill up different funnels. It's not different funnel. Yeah, but if that makes sense. So I've got multiple things topping up what I would perceive as my hourly rate, right? So then obviously what I said, step 5 was what can you do to bridge the gap or increase the hourly rate? And who do you know that's already doing that? And if you don't know, you can start Googling, you can start asking blokes on here, because we're all from different professions, etc. And then we need to work out what skills we need to do to upgrade. So for me, when I was footy, I earned good money. When I went back to chipping, I didn't earn very good money, but I also didn't improve any skills. So when I started my first business, which was in sales, I had to learn communication, I had to learn sales, I had to learn marketing, I had to learn leadership in order to grow my organization to 4,000 people. And that took 4 or 5 years. Right. So you don't just go, like when I said that original thing where I wanted to earn $1 million and I said to myself, I'd do that in a year. It didn't fucking happen because I was a very poor communicator. I didn't understand sales at all. I didn't understand marketing. I was a terrible leader. I couldn't even lead myself. So what I then was able to do was build out this roadmap and say, okay, over the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever that looks like, Spence, for example, let's say if you could bridge that gap by $10 a year over the next 5 years, what would the skills that you need to learn be? Does that make sense, gents, or am I talking too fast and all over the shop? So I don't ever look for that Hail Mary or quick fix like that. That's what I did, and it didn't fucking work, and it disappointed myself. But if you can think about a 5 or a 10-year play and just go, okay, I have to learn these specific skills. And from my experience with this, I can't speak on, so many things, but I built a 6-figure company through sales originally. And then I also lost that company because I was a fucking idiot. And then same with this business is the same. It's, doing that, but it's also, there's so much that I still got to learn from this front. So you guys can pick my brain around sales and I guess building a brand sort of things, but like, there's also things that I don't feel I'm the expert at sort of telling you on, but I hope does anyone have any questions around that? I'll post those sort of steps to think about for anyone who didn't catch that, or it's an opportunity to think about. And I think the most important thing as well is don't overwhelm yourself if the gap seems quite significant. Just increase your time frame. So then you go, okay, I'm just going $5 a year or $10 a year to make that manageable.
Yeah, I think you nailed that part on top. Like I used to listen a lot to Gary Vee, and talk like, oh, go and earn fucking 45 grand, you'd be more happy than doing this. It's like, well, hang on a second, mate. You own a business that's almost like $2 billion worth. Yeah. It's easy for you to kind of preach this life that you apparently had, and you built your father's business up to this point. But it's funny, like you said more in that 10, 15 minutes about the best way to work it out than Gary Vee's probably said in his last 10 years of fucking Instagram.
Can you call me Gary Vee then?
No, well, you're much taller and probably better looking, mate. So, and you didn't build a wine business, mate. So, if anyone knows Gary Vee, he talks about his building his dad's wine business and then got VaynerMedia and all that stuff. And absolutely each their own. Like, he's done an awesome job. Yeah. But I think we had a conversation at rugby as well. I don't know if I'm talking too much. If anyone else had any questions, but we were talking about how to leverage your knowledge now into something that's going to be beneficial. So, like for me, working in banking. How do I build, and my background sales and real estate, so I sold houses for 10 years, and how do I utilize that skill base to then move that into that side hustle, as you said, top up or do something different. And for me, it'd probably be a top up because I don't want to leave what I'm doing. Yeah. Because the income is solid. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I don't make 150 grand. I just said 150 because I just thought of a number. Yeah. But ultimately, to make 150, you got to earn a ton of bonuses. And Brett, I know this at Westpac. You've got to work your tail off to actually jump in and do it. So, you might put an extra, 10 to 15 hours a week into it. What does that give you for the rest of the year? And then something goes wrong because it's not under your control. And how do you manage that? It's really where I'm at myself. And I don't know if anyone else has any other opinions, but that's just my thoughts.
I think as well, what you'll often find, and from my experience as well, as much as for me, it's the 42-hour sort of mark I like working, but in the whole process over the last, since 2014, I've been doing, 5 a.m. till majority of the time, like 9 p.m. at night to learn those skills and stuff as well. So like while I had my job and, I was doing Uber driving, I had that sales and marketing thing going on, I was still then spending another 3-4 hours at night learning these different skills, which I wasn't getting paid for. And I think there's a misunderstanding where people think that straight away you're going to get paid for shit. Like I still do a lot of stuff right now that I don't get paid for, but I trust and I believe that how I'm building towards thing, it'll get me to what my goal hourly rate is. And I think you're always going to be upskilling and learning. And there's definitely going to be stuff that you have to invest in that you don't, get paid for, but you get paid in experience as well. But I think, ultimately, like mine's still 8 years away till I, realistically hit my goal. But it's fun in the process because what's the alternative? Like I'm going to be wishing I could earn that. I'm going to be stuck. I'm not going to be upskilling. And which is what a lot of people do, right? And not to, like when I was a chippy, or even when I was a glassy, like I would get so fucking stoked when I could work overtime, work till 3 a.m. because I got $30 an hour instead of $25.50 or whatever. And for me, that was my way of thinking at things then. But now I also understand with what I've created, if I put on a workshop, right, it can be a good cash flow thing. A subscription model is a good retainer, right? Where most people get a retainer from their careers. I get it through a membership platform. And then obviously if I, once again, like higher ticket sort of stuff that I work on. So there's all these, there's so many different ways that we can think about it. But I think as individuals, we got to work out, once again, whether it's a top up, it's a full-time thing, what you're actually looking for as well, if that makes sense. Because obviously doing it the way I've done it as well, it's fucking stressful. Because if I'm not earning money, then I'm not going to get paid a wage by anyone. I still have expenses. So there's risk versus reward that everyone needs to think about as well. And that's why ultimately Spence as well, I was saying, like, think about what the number is, guys. Don't just like really think about it. And an exercise that I did 7 years ago was when I thought about, and I've spoken to you guys about this before, so I'll stop rambling in a second, but so what's the number that you need to cover your basic cost of living? So to be fed, sheltered, and clothed, right? It might be $600 a week or whatever, because everything above that is a choice, right? You're choosing that. And it's a fucking luxury, right? Whether you think so or not, it's a luxury. So the more luxuries that you think you feel you need, then that's just going to increase what you feel you need to earn. And it's never going to be enough. I promise you, like I've always said, I need to earn more. I need to earn more. But if I look at my lifestyle, I'm just buying, $10 coffees instead of $5 coffees. And why the fuck would you do that when you think about it logically?
Yeah.
So we really need to be intentional and be mindful of it. And the goal then becomes, for me, is like, even within my business, when I hit a certain income, it's going, okay, well, how can I keep my income there and work less hours? I don't need more money. I need more time. And that's then going back to, okay, my hourly wage per se is increased, but now I need to increase it more so I can work less hours and get the same amount. And that's what the process that I'm currently going through.
That is probably more my point, I think, is how you work less to make the same income. And yeah.
Yeah. And once again, gents, I truly fucking believe, and not to make this like an entrepreneur fucking episode, but like, I think we're in one of the most exciting times in history with technology. And, all of you guys are experts in something that the others of us aren't, where services are selling, products are selling. You see people doing Amazon businesses, you can start a podcast and talk about Geelong being awesome. Like there's all these things where you can sell ad space.
Cast.
What's that?
Said to be a short podcast, Lockie.
Right.
Yeah, we've been good from that.
Might be longer after this season, we'll see. But that my point is, gents, is like, if you're curious about it, start asking more questions, and I guarantee you'll be able to find something that like I said, might be a side hustle, might end up being a full-time thing. Or you might, I know people who just connect people and get a commission from joining people together for business partnerships. So literally there's stuff that you think you can't make money out of. I guarantee you can. And it's just about thinking differently and asking the right questions. But once again, like, go through that process. I'll post in order what that process looks like for me, so that you guys can then go through that. But if anyone has any questions on it, either post them in the group or hit me up, and I'm happy to, like I said, I'm not a fucking financial advisor or a guru with that. I just know what I've done for myself. So I might be able to point you in the right direction. Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Does anyone have anything else they want to share? Otherwise, we'll let you all rip into the day.
Yeah, my best $100 I ever spent was the Foo Fighters concert.
Foo Fighters concert.
Oh,
Was it on the alcohol or the ticket to the concert?
Yep.
What did everyone else get? Anyone else get a good $100 spend recently?
Yeah, it was
Go, Andy.
No, it was last time. Yeah, last time they played in Australia at the Suncorp Stadium. So yeah, it's $100.
Yep. That would have been wild. All right, gentlemen. So obviously the book of the month, I'll be posting that, but High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. He's one of the top, obviously, high performance coaches in the world. It's a brilliant book. What else did I have I needed to cover quickly? We'll be changing the accountability groups as well. So I'm really going to be testing this out because some people aren't active, and there's, so if I do move you midweek or whatever, it's because I want, and you're active, it's because I want to move you to a group where it's sort of reciprocated with the energy. And I know obviously not everyone has time, which is completely fine, but it's nothing's personal. I'm just trying to match people up so they can have the support and the conversations that they want to have. What else did I have to say?
If you want to live the lifestyle you want, you've got to sacrifice something.
Yeah. 100%.
You either,
Tommy.
you've either got to sacrifice time to make the money or sacrifice the money to make the time.
I think in the short term, yeah. I think in the long term, no. Because when you think about like to get that balance, you want to be looking at how do you get your money. See you, Dave, mate. Good luck with your interview. Crush it. I think it's once again thinking outside of the box, right? Like how do you make residual or passive income streams? Once again, that's from my experience, that's not a quick play either. Right? Yeah. Like I technically make a passive, a residual from a membership site, right? Like when my time is scaled and leveraged, and the memberships are there. It's technically, but some people make it through property, through other kinds of investments, and that's where it might be. For example, for me, my property portfolio, I want it to be 8 mil with a 4.2% yield over the next 10 years. So I'm learning more about property, how to get that yield and how to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that straight away. So that's why for me, I know that if I do achieve that, and if I do get that yield, I'll be getting a certain revenue stream from that, which then goes, hey, that's now topping my current income up. Do I want to take a higher income, keep working the same amount of hours, or do I use what that hourly rate would be and get another 6 hours back for me to fuck around with during the week? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I definitely agree in the short term, there's that sacrifice, and they're always, as I mentioned, the upskilling, the learning, the networking, that's all unpaid, right?
Yeah.
But long term, it's like, this is why we do the 10-year vision or the 5-year vision. What do you want that to look like? Because you have to start that process now. You don't just get to 40 and go, right, I want passive income. What's the greatest quick fix I can find? It's about starting to get curious about what that looks like, how people do that, what it really takes. And once again, network with people who are already doing that. That's what my belief is. Once again, may agree or disagree, but anyway.
No, true.
Righto, gentlemen. It's been awesome. We'll see you all next Friday, but obviously I'll be changing your WhatsApp groups, and hopefully this fucking app gets updated to the point where we won't need to use WhatsApp anymore. Everything can be run through the app and Android, but it's just an expensive process and a slow process, is unfortunate. But anyway, it's all good. Have a great day, gentlemen. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Lockie.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See ya.